What's up, everybody? John Eric Poli here with my MMA news, and today's guest just defeated Freddie Linares on Dana White's Contender Series to now earn a UFC contract. Pleased today to be joined by Jack Jenkins. Jack, nice seeing you again, man. We did one of these right before the fight. Now it's nice to be able to speak to you afterwards and talk about this contract. So congratulations on now being one of the newest members of the UFC.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was happy to get the job done and get the contract in the end. And I know when we spoke the first time, I said that this was just the first step for me. I'm not happy just to get in. I want to get in and do really well. So yeah, now I get the chance to prove that.
And I was gonna say, has it all actually sunk in? Like this was the plan. You were so confident you're gonna come in, take care of business. You were looking long term with all of this. Has it sunk in though? This short term thing here that you are indeed in the UFC, and step one of the goal has been accomplished.
Yeah, definitely. I think it probably started to sink in when I went to the PI and the few days afterwards. Like in the day after the fight, I went to the PI and went to train because obviously I didn't take much damage, so it was good to go straight back to training. And at the Performance Institute, I was in the change rooms, and it was just me and my brother and my mate, and we were just sitting in there talking to Sean Strickland, Rafael Assunção, and Francis Ngannou. So it kind of sunk in then. I was sitting in there and I was like, oh, we're here because of me. So that was a cool moment.
Did you get to have a nice conversation with those guys too? And Sean Strickland's obviously quite the
Yeah,
personality, and Nagano too, of course, being the champ and everything.
we were all just sitting in there shooting the shit. Like, yeah, we were all just talking, and Sean Strickland's like, oh, you got the win, that was good. And then he's like, they got you on one of those dog shit contracts, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't know, I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, it was a good chat.
I would expect nothing less from him. That sounds
Yeah,
right up
yeah.
Sean's alley there. But obviously, you were in Vegas for a few days afterwards. You get to kind of celebrate in the States here and, kind of take it all in there.
Yeah, yeah, we stayed in Vegas for a few days afterwards, and it's not my cup of tea, Vegas, but I can see why it would be fun for a couple of days. I actually wanted to go play some golf, but I didn't end up getting any golf in. So we've had shit weather since I got home too. So didn't do much in Vegas, just sort of chilled by the pool, kick back, and I just went out to the PI every day because it's so cool out there. And I got free. You get free food at the PI if you're a UFC fighter, so I was taking advantage of that.
Hey, if it's free, it's for me, right? But
Yeah.
I do want to talk now about this performance. We'll kind of break it down for everybody of how you earned this contract. So you dominated the fight. Ultimately, you get the finish in the third. But before we get into the finish itself, let's talk about those opening two rounds because you were so dominant in it. Like no matter where the fight went, you had full control of it. Obviously, masterful performance. Just talk about those opening two rounds and how you were able to apply that pressure and mount him and everything that you did there.
Yeah. So our plan going into this fight was we knew that what Freddie does really well is he walks forward and he kind of creates these pockets where you get into exchanges, and he's willing to take a few hits, and then he'll throw really hard once you get into those exchanges with him, and he catches people and he does damage. So our game plan was to avoid that, at least for the first round. You want to, even though I thought I had a distinct advantage in the striking, I wanted to avoid, any chance there was of getting clipped. So sort of backed up, and I knew he was coming in so tall with his double jab cross and his jab cross jab. So duck under, get the easy takedown in the first round, got to mount, and pretty much as soon as I got into the mount, I started to realize that he wasn't going to be really aggressive from the bottom. He was probably going to play more of that stalling game. So I was happy to just stay there and get to work on some elbows and some punches. Because he was playing so defensive, it was hard to get some work off. Like you would normally expect someone to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of trying to get back to their feet or at least throw up submissions and open some stuff up for me. But he didn't really do that. So I thought that first round, I probably didn't get enough work off as I would have expected. But in the second, he came out pretty much exactly the same. Didn't lower his stance, didn't really change much. I landed a nice body kick in the second, and a few good knees as well. And then once I got on top in the second, I just started to get a bit better inside hand position, and that's when I managed to land that elbow that cut him above his right eye. And once that cut happened, I knew it was go time, and I really did some damage towards the end of that second round. and I thought the ref might stop it because it was bleeding straight into his eye. But the doctor said, let him show you something. And the ref said to him in between the second and third, you got to show me something or I'm going to stop the fight. But I don't think Freddie speaks any English, so I don't know whether that message was received. But yeah, then we got into the third round, and in the third round, I sort of upped the pressure another level again. And once he turned and gave me that turtle position, I just turned the knuckle in on a few shots where I was aiming for the ear, and I managed to rattle him a little bit, and the ref saw that and called the fight off.
So there, you just broke down the whole entire fight, and in case nobody could still tell, let's put it just this way: it was absolutely dominant, and it seemed like, I mean, how do you not get a contract? You went out there, you beat him down for 2 rounds before getting the finish in the third. Obviously, you got to see how everything else plays out, but still, regardless, you dominate your fight, you took care of business, you get a stoppage. Dana comes out afterwards. Now he does give you the contract, but seemed a little critical of your performance. That was a bit shocking to a degree, but you did tell me off air, and we'll tell everybody now as to what happened. You did indeed speak to Dana, cameras off, backstage, and he wasn't as critical then. So just your thoughts on Dana's initial comments and how you were able to kind of work things out with him there afterwards.
Yeah, so his initial comments were kind of like that. One trick pony was Dana's words. Like, it was just, I kept going to the ground and doing the same thing. Which, if Dana only having seen that absolutely was what it was. Like, it was, I would take him down, I would get to half guard, and I would get shots off. I coach a few fighters, and if any of my fighters had done a performance like that, you would nearly consider it flawless, right? It's like a 10-9 followed by a 10-8 followed by a finish in the third. And that's what my coaches were kind of saying to me, like, you did really well. But when I ran into Dana at the back, I sort of spoke to him briefly, and he was very complimentary of the performance. He said I dominated. He said my mount was really solid, and that sort of thing. So I don't think there was that I wasn't offended by his comments or thought he was out of line or anything like that. It was just that I think it went a little bit against the grain of what was expected. I sort of came in there hyped up as a kickboxer, and then I showed something that wasn't that, and it kind of went against what, maybe they were expecting some fireworks for that fight of, get in there and bang on. Whereas, once I knew that my path to victory was going to be a little bit, my lowest risk factor was going to be on the ground there, that's the path I took. And I've always said that when I say I'm a high IQ fighter in these interviews and in the, pre-fight stuff, I'm not saying that I'm, a crisp 100% striker and I'll find holes and do anything. I'm not Israel Adesanya. That's not what I'm saying. When I say I'm high IQ, it means I'll find the path of least resistance to victory. I'll press that button again and again and again, to get the win. I'm trying to get in there and take as least damage as I can and do as much damage as I can to my opponent. And, if you saw Freddie after that fight, I ran into him at the hotel, and the cut was the least of the problems. There was so much swelling all around his face and head from elbows and punches that I landed in that top that, we didn't see the swelling. It didn't come up until a few, hour or two after the fight. So I'm happy with the performance now, looking back on it. And, I'll get a chance to show my kickboxing. Don't get me wrong, everyone's going to see those fireworks, but this just wasn't the night for that.
And not only all that with the kickboxing that you get to show off and everything. One of the big storylines coming into this, and when we did the interview, you said you weren't going to make an excuse for it, and that you don't think it was going to affect your performance, but you had a lot of travel issues getting from Australia to Vegas for the fight, and you had mentioned that afterwards that it did indeed play a little bit of a factor into your performance. So in case anybody missed any of that, I guess first explain the travel issues that you had just getting into Vegas, and then number two, if it did indeed, affect you a little bit when you're inside there, and if it did, it would make sense because given everything you had to do just to get into Vegas a week before the fight was, man, that's like going through hell and back there for somebody that has to travel as far as you do coming from Australia.
Yeah. So in the week leading up to when I found out I had contenders, there was worry about whether I would get a visa or not. And then when I found out I got my visa appointment, it was really late. It was close to the fight. and it wasn't in Melbourne, it was in Sydney. So I had to fly to Sydney, drop my passport off at the consulate, stay for 3 nights, train just by myself, then fly back to Melbourne for a couple of days to train with my coaches. Then I got the call that my passport was ready, so I had to fly back to Sydney, pick up the passport. That was only, sort of 6 days before the fight. Then fly from Sydney to Dallas, then Dallas to Vegas. So it's just a bit of a shit show there, which, everyone has shit go on before the fight. So you got to take that in your stride and deal with it. But then like when we had our interview, when I was speaking to you before the fight, I just couldn't sleep. There was like the jet lag and the hotel, and there was a few different factors, and I was probably sleeping an hour and 15 minutes a night for the 5 nights before the fight. So, there was lots of different factors, but you got to train so that on your worst night, you can still show up and get the job done. And, if there's something I'm happy with about this performance, it's that, I think I was probably at, in a tough spot with my sleep and other things like that, and I still managed to show up and get the job done.
And then I want to talk a little bit of celebration now afterwards. Obviously, so much to get through, and we kind of talked a little bit about this at the beginning here. Obviously, after you get through all of that, you take care of business. There you are. You're in Vegas. It's the place to party. I know you said you want to get golfing. You didn't get to do it. Did you get to at least do anything fun with the 5 days or so that you were there afterwards?
Yeah, I wanted to play a bit of golf. I was calling out the Nelk boys. I wanted to do some golf with the Nelk boys, and there was some chat. I was going to get a golf game in with Salim on the Saturday, because he was in Vegas, but he ended up doing some filming stuff, so that never happened. And then I rang a few courses, and everyone was booked out for the morning. You could only get on at like 2 o'clock, and I'm like, fuck, I don't know if my skin's going to do 2 o'clock in the Vegas sun. So I decided not to go. But as far as Vegas, I kind of just chilled by the pool with my dad, my brother, and my mate Jacob. And yeah, we did a few fun things. Went out for a few nice dinners and went to a club one night. But that's not really my scene. So I enjoyed it while I was there. But I'm keen to get back to Melbourne. And now I'm back. I'm having a bit of a big party this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that.
And I want to ask about one other Vegas things. I did see this on Instagram. So actually, it's funny. So when we did the interview before the fight, I had mentioned that even though I live in the United States, I've never been to a Whole Foods because where I live in Pennsylvania, we don't have a Whole Foods next to where I live. Well, In-N-Out Burger is a West Coast thing, not an East Coast thing out here. So I've never been to In-N-Out Burger. I've been to Vegas. I never got a chance to check out In-N-Out Burger yet. Maybe the next time I go out, I'll be able to try that out. But what was In-N-Out Burger like? People say it's a pretty good fast food place.
Yeah. In-N-Out Burger is really good, but I think Five Guys is better, to be honest.
Okay, I've had Five Guys before. I'm a fan of Five Guys.
Yeah. So I don't know. My brother likes In-N-Out more than Five Guys, but I like Five Guys better. I guess it's just personal preference, but it was really good actually. Yeah, the In-N-Out slap.
All right, well, I will check that out. I don't know if I'm going to check the Whole Foods out anytime soon, but next time I'm in Vegas, I think I'm going out next summer. Next time I'm out in Vegas, though, for sure on my vacation. I go out every couple years with my family. I'm definitely going to check In-N-Out Burger out. But anyway, let's talk some future stuff now. It's just been announced recently, UFC 284 in February. It's going to be in Perth in Australia. Is that the plan? I'm going to assume to get on that card and get to debut in your home country where you can sleep a little bit better, not have to worry about all these travel, visa, pain in the ass things that you have to deal with for this one.
Yeah, that'll be the plan. I'll get out to the UFC. We kind of spoke about maybe trying to get on in December, but the cards were looking full and it was looking like maybe it would have to be something short notice or anything like that. So I'm happy to, take a little bit of a sit. I'll sort of do a big block of training November, December. Then I'll probably have 3, 4, 5 days off over Christmas and enjoy some time with my family. I haven't had a Christmas where I haven't been training for 3 or 4 years now. I've always had fights booked in January or February. So it'll be nice for me to be able to lock in. I know I'm on Feb 10th, so I can take a couple of days at Christmas and enjoy some time with my family. But yeah, UFC 284, the debut, it's going to be big. I'm looking forward. RAC is a cool stadium. I love Perth. So I'm excited to get over there and actually get into it in front of a crowd. I hated fighting with no crowd in the Apex. It was shit.
I said the Australians always bring it to. That'd be a pretty cool experience to be in a big stadium like that. Do you ever get to fight in anything like big like that? If you do indeed get on that card, which you probably will, like, this be the first time fighting in that big of an arena?
100%. I've never fought in anything even close to that big, so it'll be huge. But I think it's going from a big sold out crowd with a lot of people, with 3,000 or 4,000 people, to a sold out crowd with 15,000. That's pretty similar, especially if, like, in the fights where I've been the main event and most of the crowd's been there watching me. That's pretty similar, as opposed to going from crowds to no crowds. That's a big change. Like, and even I was talking to Jimmy Croup. We actually went for a hit of golf yesterday, and Jimmy said going from a little crowd to no crowd is a way bigger difference than going from a little crowd to a big crowd.
I bet that it is, but it's great that you'll be able to fight in front of a crowd again here. So looking forward to seeing that in February. I'm sure we'll be in touch before that fight if you do indeed get booked for that, which I'm sure you will. But anyway, one last thing before you're out here today. Social media, management, sponsors, anybody to give a shout out to? Floor is yours.
Yeah, just want to thank my sponsors for this fight. Tripod Farmers, Carmel and Joe from there, and Marie, and Ange as well, actually. Brad from Diablo Concrete, and Jordan and Taco from Diverse Plum. Those guys all helped me out massively in the lead up to this fight, and even helped me get one of my coaches over to America with me. So thanks to those guys for sponsoring me, and yeah, that's it. Looking forward to February.
All right, Jack. Thanks again, man, for all the time. Really appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll see you on that card in February at UFC 284. It'll be an awesome debut, and just looking forward to seeing what you do here in the UFC. And just before I head out, as I always do, just to remind everybody, if you like today's interview, please go to the bottom, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and keep going to mymmanews.com. We have great stuff that comes out there every single day of the week, so make sure you guys are keeping an eye out for the website as well. We'll see you later, everybody.